Wow, so it's been a while since I've done a video. Um, Couple of good reasons for it. Fucking world's gone crazy, man. Um, as I said in a couple of my earlier videos, I recently went back into security work, and let me tell you, with the political climate the way it is right now, this is the time to look into a career in security because there's a lot of job security. It's kind of twofold. Um, if you get into the right job and security, it's good. If you get into the wrong ones, it's not going to be so good. And I'm going to go over the three different tiers of security here in a bit. But before I get into that, we'll go into risk management and stuff. Um, a lot of companies that are having problems with rioters and stuff, and they want to hire armed security to protect their property and stuff. Those are high risk jobs, and they don't compensate very well for the risks that you're taking. Um, a lot of them provide you minimal equipment, if they provide you equipment at all. A lot of armed security positions, they expect you to have your own equipment, level 3 body armor, your own firearm, pepper spray, baton, all that, and a lot of those want you to be certified as well. And that stuff, those training courses and that equipment is not cheap. You do not get compensated for that at all. So those companies that don't want to pay $20 to $25 an hour, um, they're not they're going to get very low quality officers to do that work. Personally, I would not work a high risk job that wasn't paying at $20 an hour, and I had to supply my own equipment. It's just, even then, it's not worth it to me. All right, so let's get into the three tiers. You've got your unarmed guards, which is a very large percentage of the security industry. And then you have your armed security, and then you have your security contractors, and we'll go over a description and what it takes to qualify for each. Starting with unarmed guard. For this, you only need to be 18 years old, no felonies. I'm not sure if that counts as convictions or charges. I think it's actual convictions. You have to have an actual conviction to be disqualified for that. No physical disabilities. No pending. Uh, no pending. I'm not sure if it's misdemeanors or just felonies, but no pending high crimes. Um, Certain misdemeanors, traffic violations, and stuff. Actually, I think it is. If you have a criminal misdemeanor, that will disqualify you, even if it's pending. But stuff like traffic tickets aren't going to disqualify you. And as far as physical limitations, as long as you can see, hear, and pretty much write, uh, even if you are handicapped as far as you have a physical disability that doesn't let you be as mobile, you can still be an unarmed security guard. Now let's go over a little bit of what an unarmed security guard does. Pretty much, their job is to be a visual deterrent and observe and report. Um, well, actually, all of them are going to have this. First, be a visual deterrent. Second, of course, observe and report. And third, react to emergency situations. Now, here's where it's going to differ for each one. Responding to emergency situations as an unarmed guard means calling whatever service is needed. If it's police for a criminal trespass, you call police. If it's a medical emergency, you call for an ambulance or emergency medical services. Um, and if it's anything outside of that, you should probably call your supervisor. You should call your supervisor anyways, but first and foremost, in any kind of medical emergency, or if you need a criminal trespass, it's a good idea to get police and or medical on the way as soon as possible, and then contact your supervisor. Unless your company is like, no, you have to get authorization from a supervisor first, then that of course changes. Okay, so oh, and by the way, these unarmed positions, they don't pay well. They're usually just above minimum wage, if that. Usually pretty low risk. If it's high risk, um, don't even take it. And by high risk, I mean if it's in a gang area, or a retail store that is known for having shoplifting. You want to stay away from those kind of jobs. Low risk is like data centers, um, places where you're controlling who comes on and off of the property via closed circuit monitors and or electronic badge readers and such. And even then, you don't go hands-on. You're very courteous and respectfully ask them, to leave the premise because they're not authorized to be there. If they refuse, you still don't go hands-on. You go up the next level, call the police, let them deal with it. So authority is very, very limited, and in all of them, well, except for the third, authority isn't so much limited, but in all three tiers, authority is very limited. We are not police. We have no power of arrest more than any other ordinary citizen. And as far as what they call a citizen's arrest, a citizen can only arrest somebody if it's a felony. And even then, you have to ask yourself, do I want to gather the evidence? Because then you're the one that has to basically gather the evidence, present your case, and do the charges. Is it worth it? That's what you have to ask yourself when making a citizen's arrest. I don't recommend doing them. Even when it comes to like handcuffing and stuff. Okay, unarmed, you absolutely should not be putting handcuffs on anybody. Armed is a little bit different. You may have to detain somebody in that way, but you get into really sketchy legal ground. You better be absolutely certain that you're detaining somebody in that way for the right legal reasons. Otherwise, you could find yourself in a lot of hot water for basically false imprisonment. So yeah, you have to be really sure before you put handcuffs on somebody or physically detain them. All right, so that's the basics of unarmed. Now, I just recently got a really, really good job at what they call a black site. A black site is, how do I put it? A black site is there's no advertisement as far as who the client is. We all know who the client is, but we've signed non-disclosure agreements so as not to reveal who the client is and what goes on there. It's restricted and secret things that go on there. Um, anyways, I got this really good, and it's low risk because it's out in the desert. Um, Nobody knows it's there. If you were to see the facility, it's just a nondescript building. It doesn't have any markings or signage saying what it is. In fact, the only signs you'll see there is deliveries that way, visitors this way, and nobody gets on that site without authorization. And we have a full security team, 24/7, that is always on site. Plus, we have an Overwatch, which monitors the CCTV, all the cameras, and the high altitude drones. Uh, and it's how do I put it? If you were to drive by it, you'd see it and go, I wonder what that place is, but it wouldn't draw any attention. So, anyways, let's get into armed security, which I just recently had to get my armed security as well, armed security card. Um, it was weird because and let's go over the qualifications. Okay, you have to be 21 because of course you're going to be carrying a firearm. And the same things with the unarmed card. No felony convictions, nothing outstanding. I think for armed, you can't even have a misdemeanor DUI, whereas in unarmed, you can have a misdemeanor DUI, but not felony DUI. Any felonies in any field is automatically you're not gonna pass. And let me back up, because for each of these you have to take the class. Okay, the unarmed is an 8-hour class. They'll give you a couple of written tests that you have to do, and then once you graduate that class, you get fingerprinted. You'll need 2 photo IDs, not photo IDs, but 2 photographs that will actually be on your ID, and then you'll send that off to, in my state, it's Arizona Department of Public Safety, and they run a background check on you, check your fingerprints, all that good stuff. And if they deem that you have met the criteria, they issue you the card within 5 to 7 days. The same thing is said for an armed card. However, you have to pass an 8-hour classroom test, and then there's a range test as well, where you will be put through stress tests and expected to respond with your firearm at various levels of difficulty and ranges, and all of that is going to be from the holster. Level 2 or level 3 holster is required for this. Some of the tests will require physical motion, and by stress test I mean the instructor is going to be getting your heart rate up, doing things to kind of make you not so comfortable with just shooting at paper targets. And basically, you'll have a standard FBI silhouette target, which is full size. You have to be able to hit within the upper body area. Anything outside of the last ring on it counts as a 0 score. If you hit anywhere inside of the ring, that counts as 5 points. You'll need a minimum of 100 rounds of ammo for this, and the minimum score to pass is 170. The maximum score is 250. So if you can't score a 170 out of 250, you're not a very good shot and you need more practice. And there are people who have actually failed this test. Um, I don't want to toot my horn or anything, but I got a 240 out of 250 with my 40 S&W. And anybody that's familiar with 40 S&W, it's got a little more muzzle flip and a little more kick to it, a little more recoil. But I know my firearm. I knew what to expect, and I trained for it. So anyways, now that I'm done tooting my horn about how awesome of a shot I am, so you'll need to pass, both a range test and the book test, and then of course, after you do that, you'll have to get fingerprinted again. New ID card will be made. Send it off to DPS again. Within 5 to 7 days, they'll give you a yay or a nay, and then you're able to work armed, but only at the place that you have specified. If you decide to go to another agency, you'll have to pay a transfer, which is usually about $10, so that you can then be an armed security guard for that company as well. And they'll issue a whole new card for that. With the armed, anytime you change your address, phone number, any way that they could get a hold of you if they have to, you have to notify the agency, not the agency you work for, but the agency that issues the guard card. In my case, that would be Arizona Department of Public Safety. I have to notify them if I move or change my phone number. Any of that information changes. So let's go on to, well, before I go into that, let's go on to what companies are doing. And as far as most, like I was saying earlier, most companies want you to have your own equipment. They want you to have level 3 body armor. They want you to have a firearm, at least a level 2 holster, pepper spray, and a baton. Some even want you to have a taser. I have a feeling that's going to fall out of favor here real soon, though. And a lot of them expect you to pay for that equipment on your own dime and pay for your certification and training on your own dime for that. And a lot of companies that I'm seeing right now aren't really paying that well. Now, the good ones will pay $20 and up, $20 an hour and up, and they will provide you with all your equipment. That equipment is usually going to be level 3A body armor. It's going to be either a Glock 17 or a Glock 19, and it's probably going to be a used one, probably a police trade-in. They may or may not issue OC, pepper spray, maybe a baton. Some of them might issue a taser, but that's pretty much going to be a specialty thing. I got a feeling that there aren't going to be too many security companies wanting tasers in use at all with recent events. So if you can get into one of those low risk armed positions that pays $20 or more and they supply you the equipment, those are the ones to jump on. So let's go into the last one and the rarest one, which would be the security contractor. Now these are pretty much reserved for prior military or law enforcement, and their details usually encompass escorting VIPs and foreign dignitaries in high-risk situations. some examples of security contractors, I guess, would be I can't remember the name of it. The company, there was a lot of them that were filling security roles in Iraq and Afghanistan during not so much during the Persian Gulf War, but the last one that we were all in that was a fiasco. Gosh, the name of the company just ain't coming to mind. I do believe that oh, my buddy, what's his name? The Mouth of the South guy. Fuck, he's so irrelevant. I can't even remember his name. Anyways, he was a private contractor over there, and when he came back and started his own tactical training, that's very profitable and beneficial for a lot of people, I'm sure. James Yeager, that's the name. Okay, and no disrespect to James Yeager for not remembering his name and his irrelevance, but anyways, he was a form, from what I understand, he was a private contractor, but we won't go into his history too much. Those private contractors make really good money for what they're doing, but it's very high risk. I'm sure James Yeager could tell you just exactly how much risk it is, being as half his team was wiped out in an ambush. I believe it was half. Anyways, so yeah, you got to weigh the consequences. Is the money worth possibly dying? Is the money worth even surviving and seeing all these guys that you were super close with for the last 6 months now a puddle of blood on the floor? Is it worth it? It's up to you. Anyways, with the political climate right now, that level 2 armed security is in very high demand right now. Fortunate for me, in my state, there isn't a whole lot of turmoil going on. People are being pretty level-headed here, and like I said, I'm working in a low-risk black site, so it's very, 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 very unlikely that I would ever have to engage in any kind of physical concentration or any kind of physical confrontations, which is awesome because I like to go home at the end of the day. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling, and oh my gosh, this video is getting long. Thanks for watching. Give us a like and subscribe.